Every day you reach into your wallet, pay in cash, use your credit card. But do you really know what you're doing when you hand over a coin to your baker? You are transferring energy. Indeed, you compensate the work of the baker, the energy he had to use in making the baguette, with a coin, which is a fraction of your salary and a reward for the energy you provided in your work. A monetary system is an arrangement within a group of people to organize their exchanges based on a logic of expended energy flow, the baker's work, and conserved energy reserve, the coin you give to the baker in exchange for a baguette. For a monetary system to be useful, it must be used by the majority, and therefore accepted by a group that has recognized its values and rules, in the same way that each player must agree to follow the rules of a game before starting to play. Today, millions of people accept the official rules of the money that are imposed on them, without alternative currencies and without debate. Surprising, isn't it? Would these currencies then be the perfect forms of money? When we talk about energy, it's impossible not to mention Lavoisier. Nothing is lost, nothing is created, everything is transformed. This is the principle of energy conservation. It still applies, especially in an exchange of energy that involves capturing a flow of energy or releasing a stored stock of energy. In fact, energy only exists in two forms, as a flow or as a stock. Let's take the case of Paul, a Sunday cyclist. He eats a substantial breakfast to prepare for his bike ride. His body will store the chemical energy from the food and transform it into a flow of mechanical energy. Part of this stock is dissipated as heat produced by Paul's body during the effort of cycling. The remaining flow accumulates as a stock of gravitational potential energy, which will be released on the descent as kinetic energy. It's the same principle as a dam that stores energy in the form of water and releases it when the water flows as a flow of energy. This flow is then transformed into electrical energy through a turbine. Remember, nothing is lost, nothing is created, everything is transformed. Intellectual work also involves a flow of energy, with one fundamental difference. We're no longer strictly talking about energy, but about the representation of energy through information. For example, when assembling a piece of furniture from a kit, Mary won't take the same amount of time to complete it depending on whether or not she has instructions. The assembly instructions are information that represents a quantity of energy, the amount that Mary saves thanks to the instructions. There's a crucial difference between energy and the information that represents it. While energy is conserved in its transformations and exchanges, information can be replicated. It's the same for the assembly instructions for the furniture kit. They will help all purchasers of the furniture, not just Mary. A hiker saves energy thanks to the information provided by their map. If they come across another lost hiker, they can help them by indicating the path to take. They will then be several people simultaneously holding the same information, allowing them to save their energy. That's all well and good, but what's the connection between Lavoisier, a cyclist, a hiker, and money? Money is energy. Sometimes it takes the form of a rare raw material, as is the case with gold, and sometimes it takes the form of information that represents energy, like dollars. Today, by accepting money in exchange for our work, we therefore accept money as a representation of energy. Because our work is a flow of energy, which, on a monthly salary scale, corresponds to a quantity of energy deployed over a month, the money must therefore represent an equivalent amount of energy for the work-money exchange to be balanced. But which money are we talking about? First, there was commodity money, such as gold. The gold coin represents a reserve of energy, corresponding to its mass and the work required to extract the ore and manufacture the coin. Inalterable, relatively rare, and difficult to counterfeit, gold coins have served as money for millennia. You cannot create gold coins without energy. In the 19th century, banknotes appeared as a substitute for gold coins. More practical, they could only be issued by banks in exchange for a guarantee of exchange against a certain amount of gold. Gold was the monetary standard. Between the 1930s and 1971, until Nixon's announcement of the end of the convertibility of the dollar into gold, money gradually detached itself from the gold standard. It is therefore no longer linked to a stock of energy. In other words, money is now only the representation of energy, information that measures a certain amount of energy. But if currencies like the euro, the dollar, or the yuan no longer have an energy standard such as gold, which guarantees the balance of the money-work exchange, then according to what rules is money created? According to the rules of banks and their unlimited power to create money. Bankers often claim that they lend money deposited by savers. Their speech is misleading. They remain very discreet about the mechanism of monetary creation through credit. When they grant a loan, they create an amount of money that did not exist before. Yes, it's magic. They are the only ones who can do this, thanks to their banking licenses. For example, Paul wants to buy a car. To do so, he takes out a loan of $10,000 from the bank, repayable over 5 years, to be able to buy it. The amount of the loan granted by the bank represents the energy that Paul will have to deploy for the next 5 years to be able to repay this loan. This is money based on the promise of his future energy. This is called promise of energy money. Before going further, it should be noted that the dollars in your bank account are held for you by the bank. It is money that it owes you and that you can use. So remember that the balance of your bank account is a debt that represents what the bank owes you. The sleight of hand of monetary creation through credit happens in 2 simultaneous operations. Here's how. When it unlocks the loan, the bank increases Paul's account balance by $10,000. That is, the amount it owes to Paul. At the same time, by signing the loan contract, Paul acknowledges that he now owes $10,000 to the bank. And voila! As if by magic, an additional $10,000 are now available to circulate in the economy. Paul will spend them to buy the car, and this money will fuel the automotive industry. When Paul pays a monthly installment of the loan to the bank, there is monetary destruction because his debt decreases toward the bank, and symmetrically, as the repayment comes from Paul's bank account, the bank's debt toward Paul decreases accordingly. Remember, the balance of your bank account is what the bank owes you. In the overall economy, the issuance of credits exceeds repayments. As a result, the money supply constantly increases, which leads to a continuous increase in prices, commonly known as inflation. Now, if Mary lends to Paul, there is no monetary creation. Unlike the bank, Mary must already have this amount in order to lend it to someone else. Yes, Mary cannot create money because she does not have a banking license. The money we use every day is therefore made from nothing but the promise of repayment signed by the borrower. After all, we are now talking about pieces of paper, numbers on screens without equivalent in either mass of gold or other energy reserve. The only counterpart to this monetary creation by banks is a promise of work to repay it. And they have this unlimited power of monetary creation in a situation of total monopoly, without anyone seeming to object, or even without anyone being aware of it. Imagine, for example, that you only had one internet service provider or one TV channel. That would be strange, wouldn't it? This mechanism of money creation by banks has accompanied technological progress since the 19th century, but has also favored consumer society through the financing of companies exploiting natural resources for short-term profits. In addition, credit-created money naturally flows first to those who already possess wealth, because bankers deem it less risky to grant them a loan. Conversely, those with less wealth receive a smaller share of the money creation, because they receive fewer loans and pay more interest to compensate for a higher risk of default. This is an inexorable factor in the widening of inequalities. But don't worry, The political power is taking action and will put a stop to this. Right? Politicians make promises to be elected and go into debt to finance their election campaigns in a perpetual bidding war. By arbitrarily deciding to finance one party rather than another, banks are in a position to choose our decision makers. They thus indirectly take control of public power, leading to regulatory capture. Indirectly, bankers make the laws. Similarly, the media is dependent on banks, which are both their main advertisers and their source of funding. Therefore, it's not surprising that despite the existence of alternatives to the current monetary system, the debate on this monopoly is completely censored. However, there is a need to consider existing alternatives, as unlimited money creation, banking monopoly, and short-term profit-seeking have led our society into a world of limitless consumption, with the exploitation of natural resources until exhaustion and the destruction of the environment. An alternative such as Bitcoin, which restores the link between money and energy, would allow for competition between currencies for people, rather than competition between people for money, without replacing the current currency. We would then have not one economy, but intertwined economies for greater resilience and social justice, with better resistance to crises.